Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. We are going to get into the week two review of Course Careers, the data analytics course. I'm just refreshing the page. That way you can see, again, I'm a real student going through this particular course real time. Um, I'm pretty much finishing up week two, which week two for me, as you can see, your girl has been killing it. So, like I said, week two, I started learning, I started the module for Excel. And even though I'm still, continuing, you can see right now I'm at the top of the leaderboard for the week and for the monthly ranking. So I ain't gonna scroll down and show the other names because we don't care about other people. We're just focused on what we are doing. Um, so anyhow, let's get into it. Obviously, we're not going to actually start this lesson, but I'm going to scroll back up. So again, you know, the previous video goes over week one, which was the introduction to the course. And so as I continued on into week two, we got into Excel. Um, One of the things though, so before we get into the meat of Excel, one of the things that I really do like about Course Careers, as far as how they have decided to do business with their courses, um, they make you go in order, meaning, as you can tell, so clearly you can see technically where I am is in the Excel practice area, right? So there's still some practice projects that I have to work through and an exercise that I have to do before I actually go to my project. So the Excel will be my first, portfolio project. But you can see right after I finish with Excel, next up is going to be Tableau, right? So if I was just to click on, for example, getting started with Tableau, let's see what happens if I try to mark this complete. Boom. Course material must be completed in order. Please finish the lesson Superstore practice project. So like I said, for me personally, like I like this because I think sometimes with some of these kind of online, classes that clearly everything has already been put together, it can be very easy for people to just kind of pop through and say, oh, you know what? Well, I'm great at Excel, so I don't need none of this. Let me just go down to Tableau, or whatever. So, like I said, that's just my own, personal opinion. So anyway, let me go back up to Excel and okay, so let's just pause this here. So anyhow, for the Excel module, um, if you recall from the first video, when I ended that video, one of the questions I asked myself, because I said, hey, when I come back to week two, I told y'all, hey, week two for me is going to be all about Excel. And I committed to coming to you with the video to tell you about what the Excel portion of the course was all about and whether or not I felt like it was at a level, being taught at a level for a beginner, right? Because even though I have worked with Excel before, I only do the very basic of the basics with, Excel. I do know how to run, certain formulas. I do know how to, graph, but all this stuff in here that we talking about, um, you know, manipulating data, lookup functions, pivot tables. I didn't know none of that until I actually started, down this journey for Course Career. So absolutely, emphatically, 100% yes. The way that this course is set up, it is truly set up for a beginner, and you don't have to know nothing. All you got to do is come up in here, spend the time, and you go through, and like I said, they walk you through. So for the introduction, what was considered the introduction? So as you see, there was 5 lessons and there was 2 exercises. Now remember, I just got finished showing y'all how if I skipped all the way down the tableau, but because I still have some areas where you see I ain't got these full check marks at, Tableau is like, nah, boo, you're not about to come up in here and skip through. You need to go back and finish. You need to go back and finish, what you need to do before you want to come see about me in Tableau. So something else that I like, as I was working through. Okay, so fine. As an example, introduction to Excel, we got 5 lessons, we got 2 exercises. So what is Excel? Okay, as a beginner, you don't know what it is, it's going to tell you. Um, how to sign up and install, basic Excel concepts, and then bam, after these 3, what you got? You got a quiz. Now, in my case, clearly I've already taken the quiz, and so you can see here that you get 100. Well, actually, I got 100. And so it tells you, you know what, great job, you passed the exercise. Now, what happens if you don't get 100%? Or what happens if you get something that's, less than 100%? Well, depending on how many questions there is a minimum, because I want to say, I'm sure as I was working through these other areas, there was other quizzes that I didn't get 100% on. So I'm pretty certain that either if you score less than, I want to say if you score less than an 80%, then the quiz is gonna, it's gonna tell you, it's not gonna be green, it's gonna be like yellow, and it's gonna tell you what your score is, and then it's gonna tell you that, because you didn't pass, you have to take it again. And so, like I said, I don't want to scroll down on my screen because then you'll see the questions, and of course the answers. And so it will allow you to, see what in real time what you did wrong. And then when you're ready to retake the exercise, you would click on this particular button, and then it's going to give you another quiz. Some of the initial questions might be the same questions, but some of them will be like something new. But it would then try to go after whatever you missed like before, right? So that's basically how that goes. So I do like that. Um, as well. So that way you just don't kind of come in here and maybe just look at the videos and take some notes, but you can never really kind of challenge yourself to see, okay, am I actually getting this outside of watching the video? So that was that. So anyhow, like I said, we had the 5 lessons. So the lessons was what is Excel, sign up and install, basic Excel concepts, the Excel interface, and then the Excel files. That's basically like giving us all of our data. It shows us how to get all the data for later on in the course where we're going to be actually, doing analysis in Excel. And then in this case, we had a quiz, so that was considered an exercise. And then you see this Excel interface exercise, that was also an exercise. Okay, so after that, then we moved into how to manage worksheets and workbooks. So you can see that it goes through. Um, how to import data, how you do search, replace, and navigate. And so you did, these 2 were videos. And then as an example, you see that it says find, replace, hands-on exercise. So, that was an exercise. It went through, how you do some adjustments, and then how, if you're going to be collaborating, how you can prepare certain workbooks. And then there was indeed an exercise. So again, in this particular case, what I remember about these exercises. So again, you've got to, it looks like a quiz, but in this case, remember from earlier on, it had us download our Excel files. And so then this particular exercise, it told us to do certain things, to use certain data sets. So we would have gone to that data, and then there would have been questions for us to answer, right? So, bam, that was that. Okay, then the next portion of it, this is when we started getting into actually manipulating data. So you see, the next section of the course for Excel was all about managing data cells and ranges. So it talks about manipulating the data, how you can format the cells, text to columns, stuff like that. And I learned a lot. I learned so much from this. So like I said, I'm actually really enjoying this course just from Excel alone. I had no idea. I had no idea of the capability of that tool, because I was not using it to the best, of its capability. So anyhow, so then after that we went into okay, so then you had to manage tables and table data. So again, we have another exercise. So again, you can tell, again, like I said, this is all about not necessarily a quiz like how it was when we were at that foundational level of what is Excel. Like I said, this stuff, you're actually being asked questions about certain data sets. And so then this next area talks about performing operations by using formulas and functions. And so I won't try to, repeat all that stuff. You can kind of see it here. There was another exercise. So but I think you guys can really kind of see here, you know one, you've got the absolute basic beginner stuff, and then as you start to work through each of these various subtopic areas, you're going to get taught something, and then you're going to have to prove that you understand what you were just taught, right? Now obviously, I'm sure if you just want to cheat your way through it, clearly you can, but really you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. So again, if you just follow through, you learn some stuff, and then you do the exercise, and sometimes you might be in the middle of an exercise. That happened with me later on, where once we got down to, like, you can tell that they're building us up for doing a project before we move on to the next tool. Then it's like, hey, you might get asked some questions, and maybe you can answer. Maybe there's 5 questions you got to answer. Maybe you can answer 4, but for the fifth one, you just can't remember. You go through your notes, or you just can't remember. Then it gives you, these little hints. It'll send you back to certain videos. It'll say, hey, if you're having trouble with this particular question, go to this video and stuff. And so then that'll help you, be able to do the exercise, accordingly. So after we got through the formulas and the functions, then we did lookup. We went through both the V lookup and the X lookup. So V lookup is just basically um, kind of, what was being used. I think like during like mid 90s to like maybe early 2000s or something like that. And so now, like, X lookup is more common and the kind of quote unquote newest one to use. But now here is something else that I liked. The reason why they went on ahead and showed us both, uh, even though VLOOKUP is quote unquote old, again, when you're talking about data, right? And if you're working for a company, they have data, unless they're a new company. All of these established companies have data since like forever. And so that's one of the things that I do remember the course instructor, talking about. He's like, look, the reason why we're going to go over VLOOKUP is because you might be in the situation where you have to manipulate some data that, what was being used was VLOOKUP. And so you need to understand what the pros and cons are, uh, what the capacity is, of that, what kind of X lookup gives you versus what you're able to do for V lookup. So stuff like that. Index and matching, index and match. And then again, as you can see, there was another Excel exercise for us to do. And then here is an example, right, where it talks about, okay, here's a solution for this particular exercise question or the manager exercise question. So I believe what I remember from here is that likely, as people was taking this course, clearly they can see when students have, or when it appears that multiple students have issues with maybe one particular question and how they're answering it compared to how many people get the other questions right. And so again, this particular, I don't remember having a problem with either one of these questions, but still it was nice to, be able to see, okay, also what that tells me is that, this isn't something that, okay, they made up this um, course however long ago that they made it up, and then they never do any sort of, refresh or they don't do anything with the data that they learn about us as students. So anyhow, they also did some troubleshooting. So this was about kind of lessons learned again. And I do remember that I think during this one, Lucas had even talked about kind of later on, when people are doing the practice and the portfolio. I think it was the portfolio project in particular for Excel that that when they were looking at people's answers, they were, seeing that certain things was always, not always, but was, coming up wrong, and it was because uh, of some errors that was being made when people would use VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP. So they made it into a troubleshooting video. Okay. So then after we went through that, the next part was pivot tables. And in week 2, pivot tables became my best friend because actually I ended up having, for my current job, I ended up having to do a task that learning about pivot tables made me so much better and more efficient at my job. Because if I didn't know about pivot tables, I would have had to do these. Oh my gosh, I would have had to do this stuff for my job manually, and it would have taken me forever. Now they would have expected it to take me, forever, because clearly, this is not something that I do in my day-to-day um, you know, my day-to-day workday. So anyhow, me personally, I was very appreciative of pivot tables. I'm actually going to make a separate video about that, and maybe I'll figure out a way to link it to this video. But you want to go and look at that because unfortunately, we did end up experiencing some layoffs at my job. So pivot tables and charts. Again, you can see here clearly there's something that people they've seen a lot with pivot tables, certain mistakes that people make. So they did a special video about that. And then or the next area was all about practice, right? So even though we did some practice in these various exercises up front, again, now this is just my opinion. I feel like this next set of practice, where we have these lessons and then the exercise, is really to prepare us for going into the Excel portfolio project. Um, so, they just want to make sure that, okay, we really do understand some things before we're then allowed to start doing our portfolio. So, as you can see, I'm about halfway through the Excel practice. Quite frankly, I feel like being a beginner, and trust me, I am a beginner, but for me to be a beginner and to be able to work through all of this, Let me keep scrolling. So for me to be able to work through all of this in basically 1 week, like I said, I'm very impressed. And initially, quite frankly, I was thinking, okay, um, you know, this is something brand new. It would probably take me about 6 months to get through the course. But I think realistically, I could probably get through this course, without just like rushing and clicking. Like I'm talking about to actually like really be able to uh, learn and apply. I don't think it's going to take me longer than 3 months. So anyhow, so that is where um, we stop for week 2. The only area that I was a little, um, I guess, questioned on is so with everything that we have talked about as far as Excel, um, just in general, and this isn't actually Excel specific, but it's more so much about these portfolio projects. Now, I know, everything has a pro and a con, but my understanding of how these portfolio projects go, these projects are going to be placed in our quote unquote course careers portfolio. Now, obviously, I haven't gone in here to understand what exactly that is and where does that actually reside. But what I can say is that I know I've read either read or seen videos on or seen articles about people using, like, for example, GitHub um, as a kind of repository for some of their portfolios. And again, I understand that every tool has its pro and con. So like I said, they definitely didn't talk about GitHub, at all, as far as, okay, if besides the course career portfolio, if you kind of wanted to take that extra step on your own to start like building your own portfolio to manage, maybe what are some other repositories, or what are some other like I said, tools out there that people could use. So that just kind of I guess surprised me a little bit. Like I said, just because it seems like in the industry there's certain it's just certain tools that are used. But other than that, like I said, I have week 2 for me was very um very good. It was challenging, but it was very good for me. And so now that we've done the week 2 recap, again, if you are considering, course careers, what's your biggest question? Or if you have questions, feel free to drop it in the comments, and I'm going to try to answer them in the next video. As it goes for me, based on what you all saw, going into week 3, I'm going to obviously finish up the practice projects that I have. So I've got that Superstore practice project, and then there's going to be another Excel exercise, kind of like an exam or a quiz for me to do before then I go into the portfolio project. So for week 3, that is going to be my focus, because again, I'm going to go right in order because I'm a beginner. So I'm just going to kind of trust the process and see where I go. And then obviously I'll give y'all an update because you guys are going on this journey with me. Now, if saw my last video, you see this video, you've done your research, as part of doing your research, you saw episode 1 and episode 2, and you've decided, hey, you know what, actually, I do want to go ahead and push the button with Course Careers for the data analytics course. Please, feel free, utilize my code to get $50 off of the course. I will also have a link in the description as well. And again, thanks for your support. Feel free, like I said, to put any sort of comments and any sort of questions rather in the comment section. And again, I'm ready and willing to engage with y'all. So I'll be trying to answer your comments in writing. And if it's too much to write about, then I'll let you know. Hey, I'm gonna make sure that I address your comment, in the next video. So that's what I got, and thank you for joining me today.